Welcome to episode 11 of Not for Thought, a podcast channel designed for psychonauts and psychonautics. Today, I was thinking we would discuss microdosing shrooms. Hopefully, this is interesting for some people. I know that, LSD is usually talked about for microdosing. I feel like you don't hear as much about shrooms, or at least I don't. And yeah, so I thought I would make this podcast to just give my thoughts on microdosing and how I do it, how I dose myself. And yeah. So I hope everybody's having a good day today. Again, I'm uploading Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. And yeah, I usually upload onto YouTube first, so yeah, check me out on YouTube if you're not. Anyway, I got some weed. As per usual, I'm gonna take a quick hit. I suggest you join me, unless you're not into that. In that case, just hang out for a sec. Yeah, so like I said, I feel like most people tend to microdose with LSD acid, and I feel like there's a lot of reasons for that, mainly because people can get vials of LSD and then microdose themselves with that vial. you know like it's kind of hard to cut up a piece of paper, like a tab or something. That's not really how you microdose. I think most people are aware of that, because just really quick side story. There was this one time I was hanging with a friend, and we were both pretty experienced with psychedelics, but also withholding, if that makes sense. I'm sure a lot of people know what I'm talking about here, where I think we both have just done so many psychedelics that we were a little intimidated by them, I guess, if that makes sense. I don't know. It was just that we weren't trying to go super hard on them, but we also were wanting to feel the acid. Anyways, so my friend gets a couple of tabs. I think he just got them for free. Like somebody at work gave them to him or something. I don't fucking remember. And he was like, let's just cut like a corner of it off and take that, you know? So we both like cut a corner off of a tab and we dropped that. And I think we still felt it pretty strong. Like, I don't think it was much of a microdose at all. I don't think we were necessarily going for a microdose, but we definitely weren't trying to have a full-on acid trip, you know? So I would say, like, maybe an hour after we dropped them, I started to feel it way more than I was expecting. And I remember just being like, well, fuck it. If I'm gonna pretty much feel it, I might as well just go big or go home, right? At least that was my mindset. And so my friend and I dropped the rest of the fucking tab. And yeah, I don't know. It was still just like a pretty intense experience, to sum it up. It wasn't a microdose at all, and you kind of have no idea how much you're taking when you're doing it like that. We weren't necessarily trying to microdose, like I said, but it just didn't really work out anyways. We still felt the acid way more than I was expecting. Anyways, and then we ended up just taking a bunch more to feel the full-on experience anyways, so yeah. I would recommend going at it a different way with acid. I'm thinking maybe I'll just make another podcast on microdosing LSD, or maybe I'll talk about it at the end of this one. We'll see how long this goes. But yeah, I'm also a little bit more experienced with microdosing shrooms because I just have a lot more of them all the time, and I don't know. I view totally opinionated, but I view shrooms as a little bit more natural than LSD. LSD is a little bit more intense for me, and I think it would be just in general kind of hard for me to microdose because it always makes me like very twitchy and anxious, and I can become very paranoid on it, and it gives me headaches. And yeah, that's totally just my experience, and that's why I don't really focus on microdosing LSD in the first place. But also, I just view shrooms as a little bit more natural, and they're much easier to get to. I think I'm gonna make a video or a podcast on how to grow your own shrooms, because that's definitely something that I think some people might want to know. It's definitely something that I wanted to know, and I didn't realize was so easy to do. As long as you have a valid address, you can pretty much grow it in your house. So, anyways, I'm thinking another podcast for that. But yeah, so I grow my own mushrooms, and I always have a pretty significant amount. Not always, but yeah, I mean, a good amount of the time I have shrooms, or at least something. Anyways, so the last shrooms that I grew were called Purple Mystic. I'm sorry, I've talked about them before on the podcast. They're really strong shrooms, but I wanted to uh, test something. I'm actually planning a trip to Japan next year. I know this sounds like I'm going off topic, but trust me, this has a direction. So I I was thinking about how I would sneak shrooms into Japan. I know some people are probably like, "Don't fucking do that, you idiot." But trust me, I was just thinking it through. I'm probably not even gonna fucking do it. I was just thinking about it. Alright. And I came across this idea to grind up shrooms and fill empty pill capsules with the shroom powder. I just thought of that one day because I had heard of people filling up empty capsules with different drugs, and I was like, okay, well, I wonder if I could just go onto Amazon and get empty pill capsules and fill those up, and then end up taking those when I'm in Japan. Because, I was thinking like maybe I could, I don't know, somehow disguise the pills as just like regular old pills and not stuff filled with psychedelics. Anyways, I know, not a good idea. And I don't know, like I said, I'm probably not even going to end up doing it. But it led me to the idea of microdosing, because I was like, well, if I'm going to have these pills, because I ended up buying them on Amazon. You can go on Amazon and just find empty pill capsules. But anyways, I ended up buying some just to test my theory, see if it was even possible. So I ground up some shrooms. I think I ground up about maybe like 2 grams at most. And I did it in a fucking pistol and mortar thing, you know, and it just like smushed the fucking shrooms around. It didn't really grind it up. So I would recommend just like maybe getting a weed grinder, like a tiny one, like a $5 one, and grinding up your mushrooms that way if you do this method that I'm talking about. Because, I mean, there's probably lots of different ways of microdosing your mushrooms, and this is just an idea I came up because I was planning on going to Japan, and anyways. So, yeah, I would definitely recommend getting like a weed grinder that you can just keep using for stuff like that that's not weed. And yeah, long story short, I used the pistol and mortar to grind up the shrooms, and it takes fucking forever. But I get enough to start filling up some capsules, and I think I got like probably less than 10. Because you can get different sizes on Amazon and probably other places too. But you can get different sized capsules so you can fit more of the drug into each capsule. And I actually bought ones that were super fucking small, and so I had to like send them back and then get new ones that were way bigger. Probably looked so sus. But anyways, so I decided to try and practice microdosing, seeing how much of an effect it would have with each capsule, you know. So I think for probably about a week and a half, I spent each day just dropping 1 to 2 capsules shroom powder, and I can't remember how much was in each. I was pretty accurate with the measurement because I had a scale and I was like weighing it out beforehand. So I don't remember what the number was, but it was a very specific amount, and I know that I'm probably not helping people out very much. But the size capsule that I was using, it was a size 2 capsule on Amazon. I think the first one that I got was like a 1 or a 0, which is smaller. And then it goes up to like 5, which is like a gigantic pill. And obviously I didn't want that. And I think even the size 2 is probably a little too small. Maybe not for microdosing, but if you're really trying to feel the shrooms, then yeah, you're gonna have to take quite a few. But for microdosing, that size 2 capsule is probably perfect. I'm sorry I don't have a more exact measurement, but it wasn't much. I mean, think of like maybe like the size of an Advil pill. That could be a lot of different sizes. I don't know, man. It wasn't a whole lot, but it wasn't like a tiny little pinch either. And yeah, it just made me feel uplifted, cheerful. I noticed that I was a little bit more talkative at work, which almost seems problematic because it's like, hey, why are you so happy today, huh? You know? Yeah, it was interesting though. I definitely felt just a little bit more peaceful. I felt like I was able to connect with spiritual thoughts a lot easier too. I felt like I was just thinking much more profound than I usually am. Because I like to have those spiritual thoughts, randomly thinking about meanings to life and contemplating crap like that. I love shit like that. And microdosing definitely helped increase those thoughts, you know? Yeah, just a side note, I guess. But yeah, I would definitely recommend trying that because I mean, I don't really know how else. I would definitely try the pill method because I don't know how else you're really gonna microdose shrooms unless you just like eat a little piece. But if you've ever tried mushrooms, you probably know that they're fucking disgusting. I mean, I actually had a friend that loved the taste. He would literally just sit there munching on them like it was fucking chips. It was so gross. I guess it's teach their own. I think he's literally the only person I've ever met that has enjoyed the taste of mushrooms though. Like I can think of dozens of people that do not like the taste, and he's probably the only one that does that I know of. Everybody has their own opinions and tastes though. So, yeah, that was strange though. Good for him cuz man, it is a struggle sometimes with shrooms getting past eating them for me anyways. I used to make such a fucking big deal. Oh, I think I'm going to be done with the microdose topic. So, if that's all you came for, that might be about it. Anyways, yeah, so I struggled for a while trying to get past the taste of shrooms. Like, I was more scared about the taste than I was anything else when it came to tripping on shrooms for a while. Because I've said in the podcast before that that's usually what I prefer now. I used to do a lot of acid, and like I said earlier in this podcast, it kind of just gave me headaches, and I don't know, I had a lot of unpleasant physical and mental experiences with acid, which just kind of led me away from it. And that's when I started to get much more into shrooms, and I view them in a bit different way than I do acid. I still view acid as a spiritual drug and a psychedelic that's not like an addictive hardcore substance, but it is manufactured in a lab, and it is intense. It's a fucking intense drug, and it's not something that I personally can do very much. If ever again, I don't know, man. We'll see. We'll see if I end up doing acid again. I do want to try it again. There's lots of stories that I have about acid that I have planned for the podcast. But yeah, I don't know, man. If you enjoy LSD more than shrooms, I would probably recommend trying to microdose with that, and vice versa. If you like shrooms more, I would recommend trying to microdose with that. The problem I feel like can be getting the proper amount and obviously dosing yourself. When it comes to LSD, I'm not as experienced. I don't I don't really know how to microdose on LSD. So that's why I'm kind of hesitant on making a podcast about it. I have some insights. I know some people that have experience with it, but I myself am much more experienced with shrooms, and yeah, I mean, I've taken anywhere from like probably less than point 0.1 of a gram of shrooms well past 5 grams of shrooms, and every dose in between there, because I've just had a lot of fucking shrooms. And that's why I kind of want to make a podcast on how to grow them, because it's a lot easier than you might think. It does take some work. There's no guarantee that it's going to work out every time, but if it does, you'll be rewarded with lots of shrooms. Yeah. I have had a couple other experiences of not necessarily microdosing, but taking very small amounts of shrooms. And with shrooms specifically, it depends, man. Sometimes I'll be very euphoric and calm, and then other times it'll just like kind of set my emotions off. When I take a little bit more, it tends to set my emotions off no matter what. I feel like a shroom trip can be just a literal roller coaster of emotions for me anyways. Sometimes, not every night, but there's some nights where I'm crying 1 minute and then I'm like yelling the next, and I don't know, it's just like all over the fucking place with my emotions. And I felt that a bit on LSD too, but much more on shrooms, man. And even in small doses, I've still kind of noticed that doesn't really tend to go away. And so that's where I would recommend maybe not taking like a small amount and just either going with a microdose amount or like a couple grams. I don't know. Do whatever you want. I've taken, like I said, everything in between like 0.1 to 5 grams. So I've definitely had quite a few different experiences with shrooms, and yeah, I think I'll probably have some podcasts talking about different psychedelic experiences, but yeah, maybe I'll call it good here. I don't know, man. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Like I said, I'm much more experienced with mushrooms, so if you have any questions about dosing yourself at all, let me know. Especially when it comes to microdosing, because I know that can be a very under discussed topic, especially when it comes to shrooms, and I think that's just because it's harder to do. But if you do want to try my method, let me know how it works for you. And yeah, I don't think you'll regret it. I don't think you'll take anything that crazy if you stick to the pills. Even if you're just using those to like measure it out and you're not like taking the pill itself, you're just like measuring it through that and then pouring it into a drink or something, then I think you'll still be good. I think you'll still be good on the microdosing. But yeah, that's just my method is using the pill. It's just pretty straightforward every time, and I know that I'm not going to end up taking way too much because I know that's a big thing with microdosing and LSD is that some people end up actually tripping. And if you stick with the pill method with the shrooms, you'll be good. That won't happen. I seriously doubt it's never happened for me because those 10 days weren't the week and a half wasn't the only time that I've microdosed shrooms, and I doubt it will be the only time. In fact, I'm kind of thinking about doing it today. We'll see. But yeah, just I don't know, if you're gonna do acid, definitely look into it. Definitely do some research beforehand, and if you're gonna do shrooms, just weigh it out in whatever way you can, because with microdosing, unless you have a really, really finite scale, you're probably not going to be able to weigh it out exactly every time. So, I don't know. Like I said, everything that I talk about is very opinionated. It's totally just my experiences and recommendations. So, if you have any recommendations, feel free to put them in the comments in YouTube. And let me know your guys' experiences on microdosing, because I know that everybody has different experiences. So yeah, I'm gonna end that here. Thank you for listening. This has been Not for Thought. Have a good day.